This is an oral history of media from 1942 to 2020. We will be interviewing Carl Magnus Johansson. Carl was born in 1942. His father went off to war and he would not meet him until he was 3.5 years old. But his memories are about a particular box that his dad brought back with him from World War II.
My father had brought back a military shortwave, high band, multi-band radio. And via that radio, I was able to listen to radio stations growing up in Walla Walla, late night radio stations, signals that came in from Seattle. One particular station, like the current KPEX, had live studio recording facilities and also played records. The station would be rented out to Black entrepreneurs in the evenings on Saturday and I believe Sunday, but for sure Saturday evening. It was on that station through Skip, 320 miles to Walla Walla from Seattle, that I heard Ray Charles, who'd immigrated from the South to be living in Seattle, and other Black jazz musicians. As a result, my earliest teenage music favorites were primarily Black jazz performers from the West Coast, Chicago and the South and so on, but primarily from New York, where they were based. And I would listen late at night, midnight to 6 in the morning, to the giants like Miles Davis and Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, and in addition to live sessions with artists like Ray Charles. I was unlike most teenagers in that I was following East Coast jazz, as I explained when talking about the late night radio station. So consequently, the first album I bought was a John Coltrane album.
Although television has been around since the 1930s, the 1950s is when it really took flight, and that was considered the golden age of entertainment. The 1950s was considered the affluent society, and families would gather around the television. There was usually a single earner income, and there was at that time the beginning of white families moving out to the suburbs, and that was considered the white flight.
Although my family was affluent, my father an attorney, my mom was a stay-at-home mother of 3 kids, but we didn't buy television. We weren't early adopters and didn't have a television in our house until I was about a junior in high school. Prior to that, I would go across the street on Sunday nights. Sometimes part or all of the family would go to a neighbor's house and we would watch the Ed Sullivan Show. It was on the Ed Sullivan Show that I got introduced to rock and roll artists like Buddy Holly and Elvis Presley, and my musical interest began to broaden.
Carl, what do you remember about movies during this time?
We had a local downtown, beautifully ornate facade theater, but I didn't get there much because on Friday and Saturday nights throughout the school year, I was playing one sport or another, and either would be on a school bus going to a game or getting ready for a home game. Instead, during the summer, particularly on weekends when I was off from working in Harvest, I would go to a drive-in movie. There was one at State Line and another one actually in Walla Walla. We would do the typical things that are pictured here, loading up in the back of somebody's pickup, What's not pictured here is 4 or 5 people crammed in the back seat under a blanket, or 1 or 2 in the trunk to sneak them in. But we had fun going to the drive-in.
Thank you, Carl, for your insight and your experiences with media throughout your life. We certainly have seen many changes and transformations over the last 70 years. I think that we are continue to experience digital transformation into the future, and we have exciting times ahead of us.